Hello everyone and welcome back to Sudden Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. As you guys know, it's the only thing that I ask, so thank you very much for your support. So, weekends have been quite boring in the activity side of crypto. I don't think anybody really wants to move ahead of the market. This is, if you will, a downside of the ETFs, which is nobody really wants to get caught and create gaps that need to be filled then during the trading session of the ETFs, because now they do so much of the volume on a daily basis that eventually when you create these gaps over the weekend, they tend to be filled either to the downside or the upside. So in that sense, that's why many times you see Saturday does one thing and Sunday does the opposite, and we end up getting more or less in the same place that we closed out the week. Obviously, Bitcoin is now above $103,000, so it's a little bit the exception, but Ethereum is pretty much flat versus Friday close. What I want to see this week, I want to see really the TLT stabilizing. I want to see the bond market stabilizing. I don't want any more, negative 1% days, one after the other. As you guys know, yes, the risk markets can go up. In the meantime, as there's a lot of turbulence in the bond market for a couple of days, 2, 3, 4 days, but then eventually that also starts to sell off because, as we know, said this 100 million times, the stock market, the crypto market, the commodities market, they're all derivatives of the bond market. So that's one of the things that I hope. That I hope also that with the Fed coming out, that probably they will bring some reassurance to the markets, if you will. As I've said, I know that the reports have been showing inflation a little bit on the high side. Doesn't matter. The level of interest on the debt is already ridiculously high, and every day that goes by, more debt gets refinanced, and more this becomes unbearable. So they will need to cut rates regardless of what people think or what political affiliations or any of that. In the meantime, even if they don't cut rates, see what's happening in the budget deficit side. It's actually increasing quite a bit. These first couple of months of the new Biden year, because don't forget that the calendar year and the fiscal year are two different things. It's already 600 plus billion in 2 months, which means they are going all out on that side of the liquidity creation. Remember, two sides of liquidity creation. You have the fiscal one, which is the budget deficits, etc., and you have the monetary one, which is interest rates and the Fed. As long as net liquidity goes up, that's what matters the most, rather than the source of said liquidity. This is how you can get new all-time highs in the stock market and new all-time highs in crypto, despite interest rates being high, and despite all the financial gurus predicting that with high interest rates we had to have a stock market collapse and a crypto collapse, and they could never have new all-time highs because the cheap money has gone away, blah blah blah. Yeah, sure, yeah. The S&P is at 6,100. Sure, keep believing it. In terms of the crypto market, now we're still in altcoin season, as I've said. The first couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, are typically very, very slow, but we should start to be in a position where the speed starts to really catch up. As I've said, I had that big money coming in, so I put around $10,000 into the market in the PulseX and incentive token. Why didn't I put on X this time? Because I already have a lot of X, both of them, and I also have the derivatives of X, Hydron and Icosa. So in my view, I'm already well positioned on that front. I was a bit light on the incentive token, and Pulse has been the token that has been underperforming, so I put a little bit more on that, as I've always disclosed. I always try to tilt more towards the underperforming asset in the expectation that that will catch up with the others. This is something important to note in the bull market. Not everything moves at the same time. I know that I've said this before, but it bears repeating because people get convinced that the bull market means you go blindfolded to coin market cap, you pick a coin and goes up. Which one high, doesn't matter. Yes, there's a time period where that happens, but that's when you're in super euphoria. This is things that last maybe a month, month and a half, and even scams go up. Like everything goes up. But usually in the bull market, the people that win, is they position themselves heavy on assets that are undervalued and very cheap, and typically assets that nobody wants. Then, so for example, Pulse Chain, right? So Pulse Chain has very strong fundamentals. Pulse Chain, PulseX, all of these, right? They all have the same fundamentals, which is they're already numbers 5, 6, 7 in DEX screener by volume with no major centralized exchange listing. There's no VCs. The entire supply is out. It is what it is. PulseX in particular keeps buying and burning the token every single day. The founder is the only founder that I know that buys his own coins and never sold a coin. Of course, Satoshi never sold a coin either, but he doesn't buy Bitcoin, obviously. So there are, and I think the SEC case will be dismissed before the end of January, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a Binance listing sometime before the end of January as well. But none of this has happened yet. You see, the fundamentals are in being put down. 140 content creators, blah blah blah. But the fundamentals are here today. Now, in the future, I think, this is just my opinion, right? I can be completely wrong and all of this can go to zero. But if I'm right and that thing goes up, then people will look back into it and say, oh, it was so obvious, they obviously they're going to win the SEC case and they were going to go listed and the volume was going up and the tokenomics are great and there's no VCs. Oh, it's so obvious. No, it's only going to become obvious when the green candles come. That's it. That's my point. This is what people get wrong. When people look down and say, oh, of course Bitcoin's going to go to 200K, right? The US government is in favor of it. The SEC is now in favor of it. Gary Gensler is out. Russia is speeding up its legislative in order to be able to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve as well to compete with the US. Oh, obvious. But not now. I have to say, I've never seen such bad feeling with Bitcoin above 100K that I'm seeing today. And I really think there's a lot of PTSD from 2020-2021 cycle. Although some things did incredibly well in 2020-2021, compared to 2017 bull market was very disappointing. So what ended up happening was in 2020, 2021, everyone was super excited because they remembered very clearly 2017. Now, everybody is very in panic mode, if you will. I think Ray Nuna from Crypto Banter saying he's already going like 35% cash or something like that. We are in 2024 and he's already 35% cash, etc. Of course, he lost millions and millions on Luna, something that he was promoting heavily to his followers. But basically now everybody's on the other side of the trade, which is everybody's extremely, every time that Bitcoin goes, I don't know, to $102,000, right? And then it goes to 99. Oh, was this the top? The top is in, I've seen channels on Twitter, on X, right? With a lot of following, right? And the guy says, I'm calling it, this is the top for Bitcoin, 100K. And then if you look at it, oh my God, this guy looks so serious, right? But then you look at his comments and he says, yeah, man, but you said the same at 50, 60, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 92, 95, 96, and now at 100. So basically people are already in this mode, which is they are obsessed with calling the top. So they will call the top 150 times. Every time we go up and we sell off, the top. Now the top is 110, 115, 120, 125, and if you do this game, eventually you'll be right. Because you're just calling the top on a weekly basis. You're bound to be, there's going to be a week where the top is going to happen. And you see, I'm such a genius, you should have followed me. But the point is, this whole PTSD that's happening is because people really have bad memories of 2020, 2021, which means I think that's good in the sense that we need these people who are very afraid of the bull market to capitulate into FOMOing the top of 2025 bull market, if you know what I mean. These people will sell too early, and a lot of it. And then they will try to overcompensate it, I think, particularly after we sell off during the summer of 2025. When we start going up into September, October, I get the feeling that they're going to FOMO heavily at that stage, forgetting the trauma of 2020, basically in 2021, and now becoming extra bullish, which will probably lead them to be extra bearish again. Or sorry, what will probably lead them to believe to be extra bullish in 2028 and 2029, because they will remember 2024, 2025 as being very good years. See what I mean? Whatever happened in the prior cycle will influence how they think into the next cycle. To me, it's very simple. Think something with community, something cheap, something out of favor a little bit. So for example, everybody was talking about meme coins, what was it? Super cycle in meme coins, right? Meme coin super cycle, meme coin super cycle, meme coin super cycle. So everybody was very euphoric about it. Now meme coins seem to have relaxed a little bit. Not all of them. Pepe's been doing well, Andy's been doing well, etc. But there's a bit of a breather now. That is actually good. You can't, because now you need people to be convinced that it's not gonna happen. You see, that the meme coin super cycle will never happen. So the only way we're gonna have a meme coin super cycle, I know this is very paradoxical, is if people believe right now that that's no longer gonna happen. Because if everybody's in agreement today, then everybody's already in meme coins, particularly the main ones. And the main ones will dictate the rest of the movement in the others. So for example, if Pepe drops 50%, I don't think Andy, Wolf, Brett, etc. will be jumping 200% in the meantime. See what I mean? So this is the important thing to keep in mind. The reason why I said that after November 2024 in particular, or late October, mid-October, whatever, that Ethereum is going to outperform Solana until the end of the cycle. And at the end of the cycle, we're going to go back and compare Ethereum versus Solana November 2024 onwards, right? And you'll see Ethereum, in my view, in my opinion, will outperform Solana. Why? Because I couldn't find a single person who was long Ethereum instead of long Solana. Not necessarily short one or the other, just on the side of, I think Ethereum's gonna outperform. I didn't find one single person, one single YouTube main channel advocating for it, which tells me that everybody's positioned on the other side of the trade. Once they have the coins, they can only do one thing, which is sell them. Very simple. So in the case of Ethereum, do I think Ethereum is going to be above 5K before the year end? I think so. But I've said this, I'll repeat it again. I think Ethereum, I've said this when Ethereum was 2,400, right, around the election period. Beginning of November, when it was 2,000, it was below 2,500. Don't quote me the exact price. But I said Ethereum will be above 5,000 before the year end, maximum by mid-January. So we'll see. I really think that still has some good legs to happen. We just need a couple of days of, plus 15% or something, and all of a sudden, the narrative will fulfill itself. Just need to wait for it. So, yeah. So I still love my core coins. I think they will do very, very well. I think there's going to be a point where everybody will agree with me. That's probably the time that I will be divesting percentages on a daily basis. The way that I am thinking about profit taking is not necessarily, I've done a 500x on this one, so I'm not going to chop it off. No. It's mostly, where are we in the cycle? What is the time of the cycle? So potentially after February 2025, I'll just start chopping 1% a day or something. Obviously, if I have a coin that does a 10x in like 3 days, probably I will chop a little bit more than 1%, right? You get the feeling. But this is why it's very hard to say at this stage, because this is the things you can only do in the moment, and time will come. If you try to play the game of picking tops, most likely going to be wrong. If you're playing the game of this time is different, there's not going to be a bear market, once again, you're betting on something that has never existed in human history. So it's going to be up to you to make that decision. In any case, I hope that this video has been helpful. Shout out to Boppy as still holding strong. Did a recent 5x, 4x versus, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or so. So moved quite quickly. A little bit like Hoppy. Hoppy also moves like this. Now seems like it's very boring. Then all of a sudden pumps 5, 6, 7, 10x and leaves most of the people behind. And shout out also to 7G, which I believe is going to get launched, or the coins will be distributed to people next week. Launching date, I think it's tentatively next week or the week after, not sure. But I heard that the idea is to be before the year end. So that's a lottery ticket. Am I crazy about it? No. I think it's I think it will do well. I think it's going to be a good lottery ticket. And if it goes 100x up, I'll be very happy. If it goes up 500x, I'll be even more happy. If it goes to zero, well, so be it. That's why you play the lotto game. Sometimes you win, and you win very, very big. Sometimes you lose, and you lose very small. And with that, thank you very much for your support, guys. Have a nice start of the week. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.